Hello and welcome to Leadership Pathway. I am the co-founder, Dave Miller. It's an honor to be here with you. And I'm really excited to say for the first, I've never said these words before. My pastor is today's guest, Bryan Halferty from Anchor Church in Tacoma, Washington. And you're still my pastor, even though I've lived in Denver now for 9 days. You're still my pastor, Bryan.
What an honor. Yeah, we're grieving your absence, Dave.
And I'll let you know when we need to redefine our relationship.
Yeah, please do.
Until then, just keep cashing those checks.
Yeah. Deal. We will.
Listen, I love talking to people that lead stuff, and I love asking them the question, what were you doing between ages 18 and 25? At Leadership Pathway, we're all about helping young people get into stuff and not quit and not get fired like most of us all did. And a lot of times it seems like what was going on in our lives kind of what transforms us in those years, kind of speaks to us later in life.
That's right.
Well, I'm interested, we can talk about Anchor and talk about church and church planting and a book here in a little bit. But Bryan, you've been at it for a while now. Are you middle-aged? Maybe.
I think I am. Yeah, 43. Although, life expectancy keeps going up. So maybe I can keep kind of like evading.
That's fine.
Middle age.
You're in your early years then, and you've been at this a while. Who was Bryan Halferty, and what was going on in your life between the age of 18 and 25?
Well, so early teens, I did a good job breaking a lot of laws and causing a lot of problems, and I kept on running into myself. And so 18, like, it was the year I came to faith, and it was landmark. It was big. I remember, I came to trust. I was at a camp, which sounds like so cliche, but it was so beautiful and pure and true for me. And I remember I was at this camp, and it was a discipleship camp. For some reason, I got invited, even though evangelism wasn't the whole point of it. And I remember at some point in that camp praying for someone and feeling like I'm on the inside of this thing. Sometimes sometimes you're on this road trip and you're like, oh, we're in the state of Washington already. Oh, wow, we're here. It was kind of almost like that for me. Like I had found myself believing in God, all these things. But at that point, that was like, whoa, I'm a Jesus follower. And I remember coming back from that, like, threw away all the porn magazines. Can I say that?
Yeah.
I threw, underneath my mattress. I stopped smoking weed. That was the summer before college when all your friends are going wild and like drinking their brains out. And I just wanted to follow Jesus. I wanted to read the Bible. The Holy Spirit had brought about some change. It was all real, and
it was real.
And I remember losing a whole bunch of friends.
How did you get to the camp? Who invited you?
It was a Young Life family. It was a Young Life camp, and it was a Young Life family. A kid, he was one of my best friends. Okay. He actually lives in the Tacoma area right now, which was a total trip. But he invited me, and I was like, I thought he was cool, and I had started to kind of like be really interested in Jesus, and so there were things that were already stirring up in me, and so I said yes.
Why were you getting interested in Jesus?
Well, I think it goes back to that. What I mentioned, I had done such a good job at breaking a whole bunch of laws and getting high in all sorts of different ways. And trying to, dating girls and trying to, like, there is some void in me. How can I fill it? The vacuum just kept being there. And I was always kind of a philosophical kid. Like I wanted to what is the meaning? What will do it? So those questions were really important and big for me. So I ended up there at that camp, and that's where life change happened.
So pain, it sounds like.
Yeah. I think you could say pain and searching, this hunger, that I think we all have, but some of us do are more aware of it. Some of us do a better job of dulling our senses to the hunger. But that was what drove me there.
Right on. Okay, so you become a Christian. You realize faith is real.
Yeah.
Then you go off to school.
Yeah. So I mean, that was like the summer everybody was doing everything, and but I wanted to follow Jesus. I remember losing friends because I wouldn't party hard. So going into freshman year, when everybody was like doing their college thing, quote unquote college life, I was like walking to church by myself and not caring that I was by myself. I'm like, I'm going to church. So, I remember just not knowing much, but like nobody told me what a quiet time was. I remember waking up at 7:30 in the morning and like, I guess maybe I should I'll read the Bible early in the morning before I go to school. And I was like a year later, somebody was like, "Oh, that's kind of like a quiet time." I'm like, "Huh, didn't know what that term meant." But so that was that was 18. I mean, if you stretch it out all the way to 25, like those seeds, they started to find roots and grow, and people would say, "Hey, have you thought about ministry?" And I wasn't interested in that.
Who was the first person to say that to you? Do you remember?
I don't remember the first person, but I remember I wanted to serve because like I thought of the people that were like invited me to things. I'm like, gosh, man, they were great. I want to pass that on. So I was put myself in lead and serve opportunity. I wouldn't say leadership necessarily, but service opportunity. So, so people would affirm that. But I remember one guy named Steve, an older guy. He said, "Have you thought about being a pastor?" And that just sounded terrible. Why would I? I wanted to be a writer. That's what I wanted to do.
You wanted to be
there's a lot of money in writing.
Is that what you were studying?
Yeah. So philosophy and writing was English literature was what I was studying.
What year in school did someone say you should be in ministry? Do you remember?
That was probably my late sophomore year from my limited memory, but yeah.
You're serving at a church or serving on campus or what?
Yeah, so I was serving with Young Life, and then progressively got more and more involved in a college ministry that was at a church about a block away from the university I was at.
This was up in Washington somewhere?
That's right, yeah.
University of Washington or Washington State or?
No, Central Washington University. It's called Harvard of Central Washington.
The Harvard of Central Washington.
No, nobody calls it that. But it's
So you're a philosophy major thinking about being a writer.
Yeah. Lucrative careers.
And someone says you should think about ministry.
Yeah, I think they'd seen me. I think they'd seen my hunger for Jesus and my love for people, you know, and those two ingredients.
Well, you do have it. Listening to you preach a lot, there's a philosophy sort of thread. There's a deeper thread. You love quoting dead people a lot. You love quoting people whose last names I have no idea, but all the smart people go, oh.
Yeah.
I can't spell those or repeat them, but yet you have this love of people, which that usually doesn't go together, does it? Philosophy people.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a stereotype that says they can't, but no reason why they can't.
There's no reason why they can't, but stereotypically, they don't go together.
Sure.
That's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. There's this kind of picture of the cold academic that is always looking down at people and kind of always by himself. Yeah.
Cardigan, pipe.
Yeah.
Scoffing at whatever trendy clothing line has come out this year.
Yeah.
All those weak people.
Yeah, that's right.
Were you around people like that at school?
I mean, I don't really recall being around people like that. I mean, I think I was kind of the inverse. Like I would get snooty at the snooty people. Like pretentious people piss me off. I don't know.
Well, here's what I'm wondering. Yeah. Here's what I'm wondering. Was there professors or older, wiser people watching you and thinking Halferty's not a philosophy guy?
Well,
he's too nice.
When I took Logic 201, I was thinking that myself. I don't think so. I mean, I had a creative writing professor that continues to be a dear friend, and he was very encouraging with the writing side of things. The philosophy side of things, it was kind of like a radio silence. I mean, like professors liked me, but they weren't like, you need to you need to continue in this stuff. Nobody said that to me in that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just think there's a there probably.
Mm.
And we ought to pay attention to those things. I mean, most of us do. I mean, most do, right? People are like, have you thought about something else? We should all be looking for opportunities to see that in other people too.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so you graduate with a what? You finish?
Yeah, I did. I made it. Bachelor's degree in philosophy, and then my dad said he would pay for college. God bless him. If I finished in 4 years.
Okay.
And I didn't finish that double major in English, so I have 2 English minors. Super important to note that.
Interesting. 2 English minors instead of
yeah. I'm really glad to pass that on to all the listeners here.
That's interesting. I didn't realize you were philosophy.
Yeah.
Major. I assumed you changed career path, or study path, but you didn't.
No.
Okay, you graduate. Then what happens? We come back from commercial. You have your diploma.
Yeah. So I didn't walk, to my parents' chagrin. I thought that was pointless. Why would I walk? Why would I spend hours waiting for a piece of paper? So but the next year I worked at a church in the college ministry that I was kind of plugged in. They made an internship for me. I got an internship, a year-long internship. And in that year I also got married to the one and only Candace Halferty.
Yeah. So we're at age 23.
Yeah, that's right.
How was the internship? Was it good?
I remember at the end of that year saying, I don't want to be in ministry. And I can't point my finger on, like, there wasn't like some bad, like, toxic, quote unquote, experience where somebody's like, said something terrible to me in a hallway, or it was just like, I don't know if I want to do this. And so Candace and I, we were early on in marriage. Somebody told us, move away from your family early on in marriage, move away, create your own rhythms. And so we moved to Massachusetts. I was going to be a famous writer. There's that thread again. And Candace was going to be, she's going to be a famous photographer. We were going to live in a brick house with ivy on it and drink coffee and like look down on other people.
I love that.
So we lived in a brick house, and people looked down on us.
And what were you doing in these days?
I applied to every cool independent bookstore, and nobody cared that I had a college degree in Massachusetts. Turns out in Massachusetts, there are other places, there are other colleges, and people have degrees from those colleges. So I ended up applying to Barnes & Noble. They didn't care. They didn't hire me. I worked nights at a grocery store.
Yep.
And Candace was gone during the day at school. So it was an interesting year. That this decision to move away from family was actually quite hard on our early marriage experience.
Yeah.
We didn't see each other much. Candace dealt with some health anxiety from a cancer diagnosis when she was a child. It was a tough year.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then one night you're riding your bike home.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You remember that scene? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So 3 a.m. I'm working nights, right? And we have one car, and so I'm biking home. I've got a light on my bike, right? A little flashlight, and I'm like, that'll do me. So it's either riding on the highway, or a bike path. And I'm like, bike path sounds like a good plan. I've got a light, and right as I'm turning the light on, I hit this pylon, dead on. Yeah. Flip over the handlebars, land on my back, bleeding. I'm looking up at the stars. I'm like, what the heck am I doing in Massachusetts? And I didn't lay there very long because I had to bike home still, bleeding. I couldn't go on the bike path because I didn't have the light anymore. It busted my light up. So I had to go on the highway. I biked on the shoulder of the highway, the 6 miles home there at 3 in the morning, bleeding, wondering, why was I here? That was it.
And then what was the answer? What'd you come to?
No, still wondering.
Still wondering.
We make these decisions, to your 18 to 25 question. We make these decisions early on where we're trying to find this nexus of God and ourself and where those things fit.
That's right.
And I think like we need to allow people, I think we need to allow people to explore.
Yeah, totally.
Because when somebody puts the expectation to kind of arrive at a place before their own like spiritual, psychological, emotional development allows them to, they end up looking back on it with some big questions later on in life.
Right.
A friend of mine told me, if I can just go into this, he said, in your 20s, just try things.
Yeah.
He was in a band that made it big. And he goes, in your 20s, join a band and travel around, you know, and in your 30s, put roots down somewhere in your 30s, put some roots down someplace, somewhere. In your 40s, you'll have some fruit. In your 50s, you'll have a harvest. In your 60s, you'll have a great harvest, and you'll look for a 30-year-old to tell them everything.
Yeah.
I've kind of kept that one.
How did you get to, let's fast forward then. How did you get to planting a church in Tacoma, Washington? Which brings us to this book.
Hey, look at that. Look at that.
On the desk. Terrible booty.
Terrible booty.
Be careful when you search for those.
That's right. That's right. Planting a church, right? So like is a fantastic and hard thing. And it's super frightening. I mean, I don't know if you've had church planners on here before, but church planning for me for a long time was very frightening. Massachusetts was like kind of that place where I sense a calling as much as you can say or whatever, and people find themselves with the word whatever. Like I was like in that place, in that year, I arrived at the conclusion that I wanted to pursue ministry.
Yeah.
And so I set out a path for that. And church planning always sounded really cool to talk about on like road trips with friends.
Yeah.
But something that I was too afraid to do. Until you, and like I think it stays like that until you like are affirmed by older and wiser people, and there's a network that ensures that they got you in some way or another.
From flat on your back in Massachusetts on a bike path to saying I'm going to do this. I'm going to plant this church. How long was that?
2005 to 2016, 17.
Okay.
So, yeah, you're looking at over 10 years.
10 years. You were doing ministry typically.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you come to Tacoma.
Yeah.
In what year?
2017. Summer 2017.
Summer 17. And you start thinking we're going to plant a church. And then there's this great quote where in the book you say something like, maybe I'm not going to do this. Maybe this is just a pipe dream and I should be an insurance agent.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Totally. Well, I think like, so you wrestle with that with both sides of the decision, like before you're like, oh gosh, I sense a change coming. But that it feels so hard to take this step. I remember a mentor saying, "It'll feel like you're walking on a tightrope. Just remember, there's somebody there below." And I was like, "It felt like that. It totally felt." He was right. And I remember early on when you step into this place where, like, I say, you're trying to explain what a church planter is to somebody who doesn't have any reference point for church, and you're like, well, it's like a pastor of a church that doesn't exist yet, and they're like looking at you with this weird, confused face, like, who are you and why are you my neighbor now? Like, what? Right. And yeah, those moments in those conversations, save the grace of God doesn't puts you in places where you're like, why would I do this? Like, why would I step into complete uncertainty with maybe there's somebody there waiting to catch me if our family falls, but like I don't see them right now, but those are the exact places where like you could also trust in God there, like
right.
So
fascinating, isn't it? People that walk into your church at Anchor in Tacoma, which has a couple locations now, runs several hundred, right?
yep.
They don't like me. I walked in there 4 years ago. I didn't know the first 4 years.
Yeah.
It took a long time before I heard the story of all of the things and the homeless guy living in the building that you inherited from your denomination and how you met in the lobby. Because surely, what are you going to do with that big room? We're never going to need that big room. Let's just meet out here in the lobby.
Exactly.
When I see all of that and think of all of it, those origins, the origin of all that.
That's right. That's right.
But I can tell you, man, this book right here was written by somebody. I was going to say this book was written by a philosophy major. What I mean by that is this book was not written by someone who had not thought about it. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That book was written by someone who had wrestled and asked big questions. And Terrible Beauty. I didn't even know you were a philosophy guy, but that makes just the way that you write and the way.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Well, you should say. I'm trying to give you a comment on that. When I would hear you preach, I would always think, where did he get that dead guy reference?
Oh yeah.
But now I know it was actually you.
Yeah.
That's why I love hearing what was happening between the ages of 18 and 25, because it helps frame all of that up of how did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
For every life, right? There's this narrative thread. Every life has this narrative thread. And if you see somebody in just like one particular point of their life, you just have questions, wait, how does this? But then when you see one life, you actually are able to have compassion and understanding for them. And you're actually able to partner with them. And so that's to hear more about a life. Yeah, it explains so much.
I would even tell your guy that was in the band that made it quite big, I don't think everyone should go, whatever he said, experiment in there. It's just, I would say good job to that guy. That's your story.
Yeah, that's good. That's
good. The paths of getting there the paths of getting there kind of look like your artwork on the cover.
Scribble. Yeah, that's right. No, that's right. Which is such a gift, because it's like how many workshops and books and blah, blah, blah are promising sequential steps when our life is anything but sequential.
It's anything but.
Right? I mean, and I think that, like I said, like if you just really push for sequential, like you end up looking back like, wait, is this?
I mean, fewer and fewer and fewer people are going to a 4-year school and getting the mortgage, living the American dream, and doing their time with their employer and then retiring. There's very few paths left like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the fascinating trends to track. But I think like the thing we ultimately need is somebody to kind of like be with us, to champion us, to see us, and to ask like the questions you're asking me right now. Tell me more about this part of your life to show interest in us, because like that's what our soul hungers for. I mean, like God made us for connection. And so we don't need accomplishment, we need connection.
When you were in your internship and you came to the realization, maybe you don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Was anyone there telling you could do it?
That's interesting. I think that, yes, there was the college pastor at the time. I don't remember him saying, "Oh man, you could I could see this in you." But I remember him kind of like imagining and wanting me to pursue ministry. I just don't remember him like grabbing me by the shoulders and looking me in the eyes and saying, "Bryan, God has given you gifts." I don't have an experience like that. Not to say it didn't happen, because my memory is imperfect, but I don't remember it, which is also striking, right? Typically, you remember the things where somebody grabs you by the shoulders and they look you in the eyes and say those things. Like those are, whether they're saying cruel or kind things, you remember those moments.
Hey, do you think you're called to ministry?
Here's like we have a guy that you and I both know that's leaving Anchor right now, and I think that one of the things that he and I talked about a little bit is that we carry the things that God plants within us in whatever station of life that we operate in. And so the story, the gifting, like it'll interface really well in the church, and it'll interface really well in different ways, as an English teacher, or as a police officer, or as a
trying
greeter
to
at Walmart.
say that you're not?
Say it again.
Are you trying to say no?
I'm trying to say that some people feel a really certain and clear called ministry, and I feel like that. I feel that,
Yeah.
But I also feel like the gifts I have that are used in ministry could be used other places. But I think there's a lot more freedom than maybe previous generations said around vocation and calling. And what did one person say? God's everywhere. Go where the money is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's. I wouldn't say that, because I think like the church needs leadership. But
yeah, right.
But I think there's a lot more freedom.
Yeah, I would say I never had a call to ministry.
Yeah. Was there a moment where like, what led you to do it? Why on earth would you do it, Dave Miller?
I was standing there. The guy I was doing the internship with quit and went to plant the church, actually. And I was standing there.
And they said, "You're up."
They said, "You're the man."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really? You're hiring me to be a worship pastor at a church of 600? I've never sang on a mic in my life." That's how I got that job. Well,
here's the interesting thing is like, we always risk turning our story into kind of doctrine, right?
Yeah.
And so your sense of no calling could create a situation where, don't expect a calling. And my situation of kind of
I would never say that.
calling can turn a situation like you should expect calling. But the thing is, like the squiggly line on the book, it's like it is actually just listen to God, journey with community, and be open to what might happen.
That's right. That's right. I like it. Let's talk about leadership.
Yeah.
How has it changed for you? Because I know there's not anyone leading anything that would not say leadership has changed the last 5 years. The COVID thing, whatever they would pin it on, most are saying it's different today than it was, say, a decade or more. You've now been in ministry for 15 years?
Just over 15 years, but 20, closer to 20 actually. But how's it changed? Well, my first reaction is that I want to push back on the question. I mean, I know it's changed. I'll get to that. We can explore ways it's changed, but like, the humans are always going to be human, right? So any time in place, humans are always going to wrestle with the same things, even though the context and the clothing changes, right? Okay. So anxieties are always going to be a thing. Lust is always going to be a problem. Gossip is always going to go on. Socrates has that quote where he's talking about there it is, right? He's talking about
Elon Musk,
emerging generation, and he goes like, they don't want to study, they don't care, they're they're entitled. This is Socrates, right? And like that's the exact same, like this generation coming up. And so I think that humans are always going to be human. So leadership is always going to be leadership in a sense. But there are things that change, right? So declining church.
Here's a better question, Mr. Philosophy. Here's a better question.
I was going to answer you.
How has the context of leadership, how has your context? That's a better question, isn't it? Because you're right. I do believe there are those base things.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. The context has changed because, and many have said this, perhaps wiser, better, more eloquent, but we don't live in a culture that is like quote unquote, Christian. Right. And so leadership in an age where you can't expect people to kind of like go to church, you know, in the Western world, unless you live in some counties states, areas, whatever, in the South. Like, I think like 13% of our city goes to church. So I think if you're in church leadership, you have to have a missional posture, and that can look different. It looks different based on the gifting, the church, but you have to be considering the people that are not there on a Sunday in one way or another. And that your leadership has to show up in your love for your city and your neighbors. And if you are in this hunker down hostility towards the world, you just are increasingly irrelevant, because you'll get some people that are kind of driven by anxiety and are afraid of the world. But I think that you're going to be missing what it means to be like on this adventure called ministry in this particular moment of time. So that certainly has been a part of leadership shifts. And I think that, like it causes us to ask questions that maybe we didn't have to ask. Like we could just kind of like expect people to go to church and to tithe, but now we can't necessarily. So we're like, okay, Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit becomes way more important when you really need him. And so you see people like turning to and depending on the Holy Spirit in ways maybe that past iterations of that same style of leader wouldn't have. Which is fascinating to me. And I think those are different ways where I've seen it shift, just even in my lifetime over the last 17 or so years.
It's good. What are you most proud of about your book?
I
don't mean like, I guess here's what I should ask. Yeah. What do you like most about Terrible Beauty, and what's something if you could go back, you'd change? How about that?
Yeah, it's good. I think that what do I like most about it? I think it's honest. And there are passages that feel, and anybody that's written something probably knows something about what I'm trying to get at here. There are passages in there that feel both like true and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And, I'm proud of those sections where I disclose something, whether it's the marital challenges in the first year, and Candace and I are both pretty candid. She has a chapter in there. Mm-hmm. Or some of the sections, I think, towards the end where I'm reflecting on those early years and how we've grown, how things have changed, and so I think I'm proud of the honesty and those beautiful passages, if I could say that about my own writing. What would I have changed? I early on, and this is really fascinating. Nobody had given me permission to write a book, but nobody gave me permission to write a book that wasn't like tactical and like here's the steps. Right. And so I thought, okay, if I'm going to offer something, I'm going to have to give a recipe, and I'm going to have to disclose. I'm going to have to tell people about how you need to do it, and if you're not doing it this way, you're a total blowhard and you're going to waste your life. And so I was starting to write a book that was like, here's how you plant a church. Here's how you do it. Yeah. And the more I wrote it, the more I was like, this is not what I want to write. It doesn't feel honest. It doesn't feel like the thing I needed early on. There's some of these books that already exist. Yep. And so when I was trying to sell the book to publishers with an agent that was willing that took a chance on me, like it just was this muddy version of story and system that nobody wanted to buy. Yep. And it was one guy, a fairly well-known, guy in the book world who we had a call, and he said, Bryan, what you need to do is tell your story. Yeah. I love that. And I was like, it felt so dignifying because that's what I wanted to do at that point, but I didn't know I could do that. And so he was like, rewrite the whole thing, tell your story. Right. And I needed that permission.
That's what Seth Godin would say.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like, since none of those publishers, none of those important book people were putting their stamp on, you just had to pick yourself.
Yeah, that's right. That's
and
right.
if it sells 3 copies, it sells 3 copies, but you wrote what you should write. And the person that wrote that was a philosophy major between ages 18 to 25 and wound up on his back.
Yeah, that's right.
And that makes total sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So that any author that gets an email from somebody that you don't know, like, that's always a trip. And so I've managed to get a few of those. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Where can people get it? All the normal places?
Yeah. It's the audio copy that's terribly produced is on Spotify and various other places. Yeah.
Did I read it, or did you read it?
No, I read it. And you'll find out that I did when you listen to it. But
did you say terribly produced?
Yeah.
I said terribly overproduced. I totally heard the opposite thing. Like, it was all.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, terribly produced. With no beauty, no beauty in it, just the terribly. And Amazon. Amazon's the easiest place to get it.
What's the next book?
I got a collection that I'm kind of working on, collection of like little essays and some devotional pieces and stuff like that. That it'll come out sometime.
Are you going to stick with the terrible?
No, I'm not trying to build a brand around that. It happened. It is.
It is done.
Yes. Yeah.
Bryan, this has been good.
Oh, has it? Good.
I love hearing how people start. That's what I love. I love the origin story of how people started the journey and the things that happen along the way. So,
what you're doing with Leadership Pathways is so vital, because 18 to 25, if you think about it, Dave, has this unique overlap of what I would call idealism and resources.
Yeah.
So like a kid can dream about anything but doesn't have the resources to accomplish it. And a senior, somebody in the last stage of life, might have all the resources in the world, but they don't have the idealism to do it. And so it's young adults that have that cross section. Mm-hmm. And you think about like all the revivals, the riots, the revolutions in history, young adults have been at the forefront because they believe they can do it, and they have the resources to accomplish it. Love it.
All right, dude. Thanks for the time. Terrible Beauty by Bryan Halferty. The story of calling, breaking, and unmaking. That made me. I like it.